Welcome to We Told You So, episode 152. The last few episodes in this series have been about how Donald Trump is eroding free speech and how he wants to silence any of his critics on television. And we said this was going to happen. This episode is how we tried warning people that a new Trump administration was going to be full of criminality and corruption. Let's briefly mention that since Trump has been in office again for 8 months, he has already committed several impeachable offenses, such as firing several inspectors general without congressional approval or notification, committing war crimes in Gaza, abusing his power of the pardon by mass pardoning insurrectionists, illegally moving Ghislaine Maxwell to a minimum security women's prison in a quid pro quo for her silence when it is illegal to put her in that kind of prison when she still has her trafficking conviction, weaponizing the DOJ and the FBI against his political opponents when he falsely claimed the Democrats were doing that for years, and we'll get to that in a minute, using his FBI and DOJ to cover up the release of the Epstein files, which he is obviously neck deep in, illegally using the military to occupy and police U.S. cities, illegally using his military to destroy a Venezuelan boat that he quote-unquote suspected of having gang members on it, and they received absolutely no due process. That's a war crime. And this most recent case of him unconstitutionally having his FCC and the government have Jimmy Kimmel's show canceled. That is a blatant violation of free speech by the federal government. And this is just a very short list. But now it's discovered that Tom Homan, Trump's border czar, was caught last year by the DOJ under Joe Biden to have accepted a $50,000 bribe from undercover FBI agents who he thought were business executives. He said that under a new Trump administration, with that bribe, he could get them government contracts. He has since been under investigation, and Trump's DOJ just shut it down. And another example of him weaponizing the DOJ and the FBI, Trump is ordering his Attorney General Pam Bondi to indict New York Attorney General Letitia James, and to just find a reason to do so. Remember, the president is supposed to be separate from the DOJ and the FBI. He is not supposed to be involved in their investigations. This is why Joe Biden never spoke to Jack Smith. Trump, however, is personally involved in everything the DOJ and the FBI do. And Trump is sitting here lecturing his attorney general because she hasn't gone after James Comey, Adam Schiff, Letitia James. He said they impeached me twice and they indicted me 5 times. Justice has to be served. Go ahead and charge them with something. Once again, with absolutely no evidence of any kind of crime, he just wants to sit there and lock up his political opponents. Yet he accused Joe Biden of weaponizing the Justice Department somehow just because his ego can't handle the fact that he got caught in his multiple crimes. And then he just made them go away. And this also goes hand in hand with the fact that Trump's DOJ recently deleted a study that shows domestic terrorists are most often right-wingers, which is something I personally have been showing several times recently. Going back since 2016 when Donald Trump showed up, right-wing extremist murders have happened 100 times more than left-wing ones. Despite Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, and the entire MAGA movement trying to pretend that CK's shooter was somehow a leftist, all evidence points to the contrary. As of yesterday, there has still been no evidence found of any ties between the shooter and left-wing groups. Meanwhile, the evidence that he was constantly involved in meme culture on 4chan and was a fan of Nick Fuentes still continues to mount. Yet once again, the MAGA refuse to have any personal responsibility over how violent their party has become. Yet Trump and his people are just coming up with several conspiracy theories one after another in order to try to paint this guy as a Democrat when he wasn't. Trump and his followers are also using AI in order to push false narratives about CK's death, even going so far as to hold congregations in churches where the sermon is falsely given by CK in an AI voice. That is called mass psychosis. That is a cult. So we now have a fascist government who not only covers up and hides all of their crimes, but then they take their projection right out of Joseph Goebbels' playbook and try to blame it on the left. Meanwhile, they are suppressing free speech and trying to come after, threaten, or cancel anybody who speaks out against them. But at least in the recent case of Jimmy Kimmel, they are receiving massive backlash on this, as Disney has lost over $4 billion, and over 50,000 people have confirmed that they have canceled their Disney and Hulu accounts, because the only language these people understand is talking with your money. This has been We Told You So. When this nightmare is finally over, we need to never let these people forget what they did.